the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
Hi, this is Marilyn Rosa-Green, and you're tuning in to Business Story of the Week.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the lovely Marilyn Rosa-Green. She is our guest for today. And of course, my name is Joshua. I am your host. You guys know me every day, every week, every episode. We start off with a question. And the question for today is, how does leadership and team dynamics impact the long-term success of a manufacturing team? Well, Marilyn is the perfect guest to answer that question. Marilyn Rosa-Green is an executive leadership coach and HR strategist specializing in food and beverage manufacturing expansion planning. With a background in HR and clinical mental health counseling, she leads transformative organizational changes through her proprietary manufacturing success accelerator program. Very interesting. We need to talk about that. This innovative system addresses challenges like high turnover, unhealthy culture, and communications breakdown, fostering high performing, engaged teams. Holds a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in HR management, and an MED in clinical mental health counseling. And today, Marilyn is going to be sharing all her expertise and her wisdom with us today. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
This is quite exciting because I love the dynamic of your experience, right? First off, I really love talking about on this show, burnout culture. How do we manage, team dynamics in companies and organizations, how to manage that better. But before we get started, Marilyn, I always started off with the origins. What was a young Marilyn like? Did she always know she was gonna, get into mental health counseling? Did she always know she was gonna get into manufacturing? What would the young Marilyn say to the Marilyn of today?
Mm. It really depends on what age we're talking. I think by the age of probably 15, 18 years old, I've had experience quite a bit, and so I had to grow up really young. But I'll tell you this: I always knew I wanted to help people. Always, from a very, very young age, I just knew I wanted. I just had a high level of empathy, and this just fire within me that what I was meant to do was to help other people. I didn't know what that really looked like. I think that coming from immigrant parents, they wanted me to be a doctor, and so I thought, well, maybe I could be a psychiatrist or something like that because I could talk to other people, and then But yes, always knew. I didn't know what manufacturing was when I was a little girl,
It's
but
so
yeah, I
it's
always knew I
fast.
wanted to help.
I mean, it's fascinating because what mental health is. It's we need it more than ever right now. I think it's a time right now where it's an issue. Everyone needs, a little bit more guidance in there. You took up psychology, of course, but then you took up a master's in HR management as well. Marilyn, talk to us about that pivotal moment. Talk to us about that transition a little bit because you have a master's in HR management and then also clinical mental health counseling. But now
Yeah.
you are coaching in the manufacturing industry. What was the pivotal moment there? How did you transition into this industry currently?
So to me, once I was in the industry, first of all, I got into the industry on purpose. I wanted to get my foot in the door because I was working from home back when working from home wasn't when you did it through Skype and when, it wasn't very mainstream, if you will. And I was really comfortable and it was great, but I really was yearning for a challenge and I wanted to really to grow as an HR professional. And
I see.
and it was a wonderful opportunity that I had. I was with a online teaching school. I taught Spanish to adults, to business owners, and my job was to manage all of HR, performance development, I would go to other cities, and so I got to travel a little bit and sit in on instructions and give feedback. And so that's how I got my start in HR working for that company. But I really was looking for a change, and I was looking for complexity, and I was looking for just growth. And after doing a bit of research, I realized, maybe there is an opportunity in manufacturing. I lived in Massachusetts at this point, and there was a lot of industry. There still is. And so that's how I got my shot at manufacturing, was me really being methodical about this and being practical and say, well, if I want to attain and have this experience at work, I need to change industries. It just wasn't going to happen where I was at. And so I did. Of course, all manufacturing companies wanted someone with manufacturing experience,
Right.
and I didn't have that. But I found a way to get my foot in the door, and I had a wonderful opportunity to join this company that was expanding. They were acquiring other companies and moving their factory to a different location, a state-of-the-art facility. And so I was part of that, I guess, newer team that helped make all of that happened, and be a support as an HR professional. And my main role, I mean, I did, other administrative tasks, like payroll and benefits administration and all
Right.
of that. I got to all of that, but my main role really was an employee relations specialist. That was really what my job was, to be the liaison between the executive team or the senior leadership team and the frontline workers, is to be a support for them while they were going through all these changes and transitions. And that's really how I broke into the industry. Was after I got that first job, I loved, and it was food manufacturing at this point, and I just loved it so much. And so when I made the transition to full-time consultant, to me was a no-brainer. I have
See.
worked and did work at the very beginning with other companies, construction companies, and different industries, because I really focus on the pains and the problems. But that's my sweet spot. I know manufacturing. I love it. I love people. I love the dynamic of it. So it was natural for me to kind of stay supporting manufacturing companies.
That's very, very interesting because you mentioned being like a liaison between the frontline team, the employees, and the executive team as well. It sounds like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? But Marilyn, talk to us about what initially drew you to it. Like what stood out with manufacturing industry that made you love it so much, and that a lot that that where you decided that you'll do full-time consulting.
I can't say that there was anything that drew me to it, except it just seemed like a great opportunity for me. And I'll tell you
Interesting.
why I'm saying this. I don't really know, because once you're in it, you realize whatever perception you had of it, of whatever idea you had of manufacturing, was you were wrong. Probably, I probably was too, because it's nothing what you think it would be, really, in a way. And for me, it turned out to be for a good way. A lot of times, it's just like, oh
Interesting.
no, this is not for me. I need to go. This is too much. I can't do it. But then I put it this way: a million things have to go right for a product to be made. About a million things. One thing goes wrong, and the whole thing could be shut down. And so it is extremely complex. And that means there's a lot of different teams, and there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of processes that have to be put in place, whether they're automatic or not, for everything to work out to make this product that you feel proud of and send it out the door. So many things have to happen. And so I think I was initially just intrigued by how fascinating that sounded to me. Wow, how do you even get from to 100? How do you get from
Percent.
that's really interesting to me, and I knew nothing about it, and I wanted to learn. But I knew people. I know that I could always rely on that. I know people, and so it sounds like a place where once I had my first interview, they called me that same night, and they asked me if I wanted to start the following Monday. Well, I have
Wow.
to give notice, and so I didn't start that quick.
Uh-huh.
Um, but once I had that interview, and I got to meet a few people in HR that was supporting this manufacturer, and I got to learn about the people, I just thought, well, I know people. and I know I could do something good here. So
I love
initially, yes, it was the entire aspect of making a product that was really interesting to me. Making something out of making nothing out of making something out of nothing. That idea was really interesting to me, and probably parallel to a lot of stories in my life. But it was once I got in there and I got to meet the people that I thought, okay, I love this.
I love that. I love that. And it's cool that you're drawing parallels, of course, in your own personal story of your life. We need to hear one of those stories. But really, before that, what I'm hearing is it became about the process, which was really interesting, how to make something out of nothing. But I feel like I'm hearing that it quickly became about people. And you mentioned that because you know people, and with your experience, with your HR, with your education. Marilyn, talk to us about that. And while we're on that way, let's debunk a few myths in here because you talk about what is manufacturing. What we have the idea of manufacturing may not be what most people think of. Because I'm imagining manufacturing like heavy labor. People are on the machines, and of course a male-dominated industry. Marilyn, how did you navigate around that? And of course, being a very labor intensive industry, there's going to be a lot of burnout. And I feel like this is where your expertise came in. How did you slot yourself in? Did it feel natural? And again, how were you able to navigate the industry as a
Yeah, absolutely. So it really depends on the sub industries. There's a lot of manufacturing companies that may well be male dominated still, but on average, it's actually in the United States, anyways. I can speak on that. It really is not as male dominated. Perhaps in the senior executives, we still have more work to do there. But as far as the on the floor, on the production lines, I've been in factories where actually the it's more of female dominated than it is.
see?
So it really depends on the product. It depends on the company. It depends on demographics. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that come to play. I know plenty of factories that are ran by women, plant managers, and so I think you do see less, in my experience, over the past decade, see more women in leadership role. Sorry, more male in leadership roles, senior leadership roles than females. But it's not. That is definitely a myth. It's not as male dominated anymore as it used to be, perhaps when I first started. And what was your other question?
I love that because you're debunking a few myths in there, but
Yeah.
now it's like with your expertise again the interest was it became like a process first. It was very
Mm.
interesting with the process first, but then it became quickly about the people, and that's where your expertise came in. How were you able to effectively slot yourself in there, and what were the biggest challenges mainly when it came to navigating the people aspect of manufacturing industries?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question, and we can do a whole series on that.
Absolutely, I bet.
But let me tell you one other thing I wanted to mention about the myths is the labor
Please.
intensive, and people are not walking out of manufacturing jobs because it's too labor intensive. That's not actually, one would think that that has something to do with it, but it's
Oh,
not
interesting.
listed as one of the top reasons why. Okay, and so there's so many reports, there's so many reasons, but I don't really get into the whys necessarily people quit per organization, because usually these are symptoms of bigger issues. So if you have a high turnover, which by the way in manufacturing the average turnover rate in the US is 40%, which is extremely high compared to other industries. I mean, that's very high, right? That's very high. And that's just the average. So if you have high turnover, you'd be at least 40%. Now, there's plenty manufacturers out there that operate with a healthy 20%, 25%. Um, but that's not the average. That's not your everyday manufacturer. They're doing something right. If they're at a 10, 20%. And I've been in companies like that. And absolutely there's a correlation between the culture performance and the turnover rate. Okay,
Culture,
so
performance, and
yeah,
turnover rate. So it really is, it sounds like it's a lot like other industries as well. Well, culture, workplace culture is very, very important because, I mean, burnouts happen. And if they don't, if team dynamics, people don't feel heard, then they don't feel valued. I understand, Marilyn, this is one of the things that you consult with now when it comes to team dynamics, improving their high performance, and also, through personal growth of every individual. Marilyn, how do you approach these problems? How do you address them, especially when you see them that they are quite magnified with the organizations that you consult?
yeah, absolutely. And that's a really important point there that you made about people wanting to be heard and feeling value. I think that is absolutely crucial when you have a business to understand that your team wants all of those things, but that's just one piece of the pie.
Interesting.
The not feeling heard comes from not having structure. It comes from not having streamlined processes to communicate, to implement change, to onboard people correctly. So it's not that people come in and say, I want to be heard. Of course. Of course people do. Of course people do. It's the not feeling heard, not feeling value starts with not hiring the right people. So I do a lot of work with that to make sure that we're hiring the right people. Not that these people don't have talent, okay? Not that these people don't have gifts, right? But for the role that you're filling, you have to make sure you know what talents you're looking for. And a lot of times there isn't a process that has been vetted, that there isn't a selection process. It's just more about getting the people because you're so understaffed, you're so under fire
Yes.
that
Yes.
you need people in the door, right? And we fall into this trap of, well, people don't want to work, or there's not enough people. There's plenty of people that want. Usually that's not the issue. If you get to the root of the problem, it's not. It's that we need the right processes to basically talent acquisition and selection, have the right processes for that and the onboarding. And you have to train them. You have to have SOPs. You have to have your training guide. You have to be really clear about your communications because breakdown of communication can cost a company millions of dollars
Yep.
and the ability to even operate, especially when
Absolutely.
it comes about issues on people safety or product safety and is going to impact the public. And so my job is to come in and holistic solution for you because we absolutely want to hear what people want to say and what they're struggling with, but you have to have action behind that. Can't
I
just
see.
listen for the sake of listening and make them feel good, quote unquote. You have to solve these problems because they're frustrated and they feel not valued because
Absolutely.
they have good ideas and nobody listens to them. Or there's issues that affect their everyday jobs and they're trying to learn from it and move on and make things better, but they don't have the support or they feel like they don't have the support. There isn't the space to do these continuous improvement projects that directly affect the people. And so my
Marilyn,
job is, yeah, go ahead.
Marilyn, your people skills is really shining through. The way you talk about it right now is all very. It hits all the spots of every organization, every industry is facing. Like these are challenges when it comes to their team dynamics and when it comes to the leadership. And I understand this is something that you address with your consulting. Marilyn, my question is: it all sounds like these are the same organizations, same industries. These same principles can apply to all of these organizations. But what is unique to manufacturing industry in particular that sets all of this apart, that allows you, what's one unique aspect of manufacturing that also is that one of the things that you address with your consulting?
I think that for manufacturing, if I look at other industries that I work with, I think there's such a vast diversity in manufacturing that I don't really see with other industries. And the diversity, anything that has to do with diverse population, anything from class, race, language, level of experience, education, pay. I mean, it's very, very diverse, and yet they work so closely, and sometimes not even closely, but so connected, right? Like one in manufacturing, one department cannot work with the other, right? The independence, it's not true, it's not very much there. They all depend on each other for it to work. Even customer service that seems sometimes so far removed, or sales, it's very much part of the manufacturing team, because the customer service department needs the feedback, and in both ways actually. Service needs to feedback the feedback from customer complaints, right? And market research into R&D and manufacturing, in the manufacturing or the production team.
Yes.
But the same way, right? The same idea is that the production team needs to feed that information over to customer service as well. What's working, what's not working, what issues are we facing? Customer have the customer has these or the client, right? If you're thinking from a research development point of view, they have these goals and these ideas, but how practical, how soon can we start this? And so there is your strategy team, your team, that your directors that worry about these bigger picture issues, but it definitely is connected to everything, and everybody has to participate, because again, you have such a diverse group of people, and you don't know about the job they're doing
Yes.
with every detail, right? Unless you're doing it. And so
Absolutely.
communication is so huge. How can you have good communication? And here's why I go on a tangent a little bit, because this is what I love about manufacturing, is that makes it so unique, is that even though it's so diverse and everybody needs each other, there needs to be a process for everything. Just like any industry, this is where it's like it makes it unique, but also it's almost very similar, is that you still need, even though it's so diverse, so different, you have to find ways to have commonality. You have to have ways to find common ground, to have good relationship.
It almost feels like every piece or every part, every step is so crucial. Unlike with other industries, one department may fall off a little bit, but it doesn't affect the overall performance. I feel like with manufacturing, all of these come together. That if one aspect, one pillar kind of underperforms, it just affects the final result. And I think that's, like you said, communication, and of course your expertise and your consultancy is where it all comes in. Of course, the website is Marilyn Rosa Consulting.com. Marilyn, talk to us about finally what you do about your Accelerator program. How does it set up manufacturing industries to for long-term success?
Yeah, absolutely. I when I started consulting, I would just do these little bits and pieces of what I do now. And I realized that these issues that I'm trying to solve, high turnover, communication breakdowns, high employee conflicts, high absenteeism rate, all these issues are really organizational. And so I realized I really need to look at this from, big picture, but also how do I roll up my sleeves and help these teams come together and do the work so that they're running things a little bit more smooth and they're ready to take on the next step when they're ready to expand some more. It's all about sustainability, right? About structure and sustainability. And so I created this program to make sure that we have all these pieces in the right places. And very much so, like manufacturing, one thing feeds into the next. It's all a process. And so the first part of my program is leadership development. And this is where we get to know the culture. We define it, we come up with a strategy, and we put together this roadmap, and then we start putting in the work. And so I coach with the executive in charge. Like this would be the VP of Ops or the plant manager, but also the frontline leaders. So I really put my face in front of everybody, and we have coaching sessions, and we have a program that we follow, and we do a dive deep into their core values. We do a deep self-discovery to make sure that they understand their mission, their personal mission, but also how this aligns with the business. That they have an opportunity to feel heard, that they can collaborate and build on their team dynamics. And so once you have that leadership piece, we go on to talent acquisition, and the HR team gets involved here. I do a lot of training and coaching with them as well. They're a very important piece of this puzzle because they're going to be helping continue on all these different processes once I leave.
Yes.
That I can't stay forever.
Of
and
course, of
so
course.
and so we work on a lot of talent acquisition processes and onboarding. We work on the employer brand, and then we move on to training. And the training and development, it really is not just a training plan, but it is really, we take every single job, we do a job analysis, and we break it down to every job that's needed in the plant, what SOPs we need to put together. If someone walks out of the line, how do we seamlessly put someone else in that place with some effort, of course, but with a guideline and clarity and good communication so that they know exactly what's expected of them, and we can set them up for success. And then lastly, to uh, keep an improved retention rate and continue to support morale, we work in career development, and that's the last part of the program. And then in this career development system, the fourth one, we do a lot of work in creating clear paths for everyone in the organization to know what steps they can take if they want to continue to learn. And learning is growing. And so growing doesn't mean moving up the ladder and going into management. It can be that, but it doesn't have to always be that. There's other ways to have mobility within a company. And I help manufacturing work on that because a lot of manufacturing companies struggle with finding a place for everybody, finding something to keep them engaged. And engagement doesn't have to be, rewards only. It doesn't have to be moving up the ladder only. It could be many other things. So we work on mentorship programs. We work on a lot of different things. And as you can tell, this is a very intense, very in-depth program. I don't have 100 clients. I have a handful of clients, if that.
Yes.
And we do a really deep dive, and I work with, it's very much a collaborative effort, but that is in a few words what my manufacturing success accelerator program is about,
It's
those
very,
four key
very
systems.
fascinating. Of course, Marilyn, I love it because you provide leadership as above, so below. If you handle that into the team dynamics, it just flows down. People feel like they have direction, people feel heard, but also growth. Growth. Everyone wants to grow. Everyone wants growth in their career. No one wants to stay stagnant. People love to be able to not just accelerate their careers, but also accelerate their lives. And I love that you offer all of this into your consultancy, and of course your expertise. Like once again, your people skills shine. The way you talk about it is really, really, truly one of your expertise. Marilyn, once again, the website is Marilyn Rosa Consulting.com. Where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, Consult Marilyn. And you can look me up by Marilyn Rosa-Green as well. I try to stay active for my network, so there's a lot of value posts that I include. And so please, if you're interested to learn more about my expertise, if you will, my experience, I would highly encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn. And there is going to be a newsletter coming out here in the next month or two, depending on when this comes out live. So there will be a monthly newsletter, again, another deep dive. And so there's going to be, there are definitely other resources. I would say go to the website to find There's going to be case studies there. There's going to be a lot of other great information that you can learn more about the results that I bring for my clients and my commitment to excellence. But yeah, I think if you want to find me on LinkedIn and just DM me, let me know that you heard me on this podcast, and I'd love to connect with you.
Okay, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, make sure to give Marilyn a connect. I definitely already sent her a connect request on LinkedIn. Let's stay in touch there, Marilyn. For all our audience and listeners out there, go check out the website, MarilynRosaConsulting.com. Marilyn, one last bit of wisdom that you love to leave behind the audience. What would it be? Take us home.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you know, everybody wants better. They want to transform. A lot of people don't want to change, an ideal with resistance to change quite a bit
Oh,
with my
yes,
clients. And so these challenges of not wanting to change or not wanting to make those changes is because there's fear. So my advice is walk through it. You won't be able to get that improvement, to have that transformation unless you face your fears. So
interesting.
it's all emotion based. Once you get through that fear and you realize it's not as frightening as it seemed to make those changes, it'll get easier.
I love that. I love that. And of course, I believe this is one of the support that you once again provide in your consultancy. But it's a great advice. It's a great general advice as well, right, Marilyn? Like, get over that emotion. Change is good. Once you get over that, I feel like life will be better. We're looking for the growth and the acceleration that you need. Look no further than Marilyn herself. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
To all our audience and listeners out there, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.